Thank you so much, Brother Jared. The most exciting thing to me about what the committee is doing here is that when you do research, you keep what's called a research log, keep track of what you're doing. That's what they're trying to do as a committee. And the exciting thing to me is they did this all on their own. They are about to get blown away when Brother Craig Foster shows them the sources that the church has available for their genealogy teams. We are not reinventing the wheel here. We are trying to access and use everything that is available to us. The idea with having a community involved in the genealogy work is that we're trying to make it so the community can go do baptisms for the dead, and that their teenagers have that opportunity, or youth class could go. If you are in my situation where you have very little blood family in this work, I need help. And for my community to be able to say, hey, Sister Rhonda, I'll be happy to go in and do an endowment session for one of your ancestors. That is huge for me. And I'm sure there's a lot of people in that boat. We're going to talk about, this part of what these books are up here for, is we're going to have a discussion about some of the boats that some of us are in and some of the boats that others of us are in. Some of us are drowning in generations of work that has been done. That would be Pharaoh. His mother and his father, you can't even start working on their genealogy until you go back to generation 13. Now you look at me, you got my whole line. I'm pedigree charts, family group records, all of it in one 1-inch binder. What I'm showing you here on this table, this is the Farnsworth. What I'm going to actually be encouraging you not to do is try and print everything out. That is a bad place to start. There's much better stuff available to you online, but what I wanted to show you is for Pharaoh's mother, Rhea, that most of you know, she descends from Frederick G. Williams. Her lines go back to Joseph Smith and Brigham Young and Philo T. Farnsworth, the inventor of the TV, and they are soaked Mormon through and through since the 1820s. Rhea's has 4 grandparents, right? 3 of those binders are just the family group sheets for one of her grandparents. 3 of those binders are the family group sheets for another one of her grandparents. I stopped printing it at 6 binders because I didn't want to print the 12, just to make the point to you that the idea that we used to have with genealogy is that you go to Aunt Betsy and you copy all of those legal size family group sheets and you make sure you get everything from everybody. We are way beyond that with genealogy. I printed these Farnsworth on 2 of Rhea's lines in February. They're already outdated. There's already a ton of work that's been done on her line since I printed those. So just understand, when you are beginning to put your genealogy together, get ready to make submissions in AUB. You're going to have to make some decisions. You're going to have to make decisions like, when I download my GEDCOM, how many generations do I do? I'm good with 7. That gets most of my lines. Pharaoh's mother, you probably have to download about 21 to get a good grasp on where the work needs to be done. So it's highly individual, and that is why this is not a how to do genealogy meeting. I'm hoping while I'm speaking about this, you're identifying what boat you're in. Are you in the I got nobody boat, or are you in the I'm drowning with what's already been done and I don't know where to start boat? We all share these situations. If you're not using Family Search, you're not using the best tool out there by our mother church, which is absolutely free. And they are, in my opinion, miles beyond anything any other genealogy database is doing. Websites, online type genealogy. Now that being said, I do understand that everybody can access the web. That's the wonderful thing about Family Search, is that you can have thousands of people working on your lines. The problem with Family Search is that you can have thousands of people working on your lines. Sometimes that 17-year-old who doesn't know a thing about sources is screwing things up. That being said, Family Search is highly aware of that, and they are making improvements day in and day out. They have the biggest team. Did you know in the church that the largest budget in the church is family history. We're talking millions of dollars. And just to give you an idea of how things are changing, because again, I'm trying to get you out of the old mindset that we used to have, where you run to Aunt Betsy and you copy everything off at the copy shop. You drive up to the church history library. Anybody do this? Am I crazy? Am I so old? Microfiche, microfilms, you guys know what I'm talking about here? That is so yesterday. I can get on my laptop in my home and access the records of that family history library. If I was in the church versus I'm in the group, do you understand the biggest problem dynamic what we have? Who can tell me? It's when the ordinances are done, right? In Family Search, do you have any control over the ordinance data? Zero. Those are put in automatically by the temples and everything. You cannot keep track of your ordinances that you've performed here in AUB, and if you want to not accept an ordinance that was done after 1978 in June, that's policy, we don't. You can't change anything. You can't go in and mess with the ordinances. So we have to have a separate system where we can be in control of the ordinance database, and that's the bottom line. That is why we have ancestral work, is because we have to have control of the ordinance data. That being said, Family Search does a magnificent job of keeping track of your lines and attaching documents to verify your lines. They have, I don't even know how many, I would say hundreds of thousands of people out there indexing records and making them available for you on Family Search. We have the biggest support group ever in the church. You cannot download your lines from Family Search. If you go to Family Search and you type in their question help box, how do I export a DEDCOM from Family Search? You will get something that says something along the lines of Family Search does not export genealogy lines. The reason they don't do that is because, number one, if they did, it would be in some tab delimited database that you couldn't read. You have to have a genealogy program to interpret the information that you're getting from Family Search. It has to be able to read it and make it pretty for you so that you can understand it. And in order to do that, you have to have a desktop software that can receive a Family Search genealogy database. We have two instructions that were given us. One a couple of months ago, one was by Brother Dave. He said that he wanted to have a 2-year queue of temple ordinances waiting and ready to go into the temple. That was Brother Dave's request. Brother Jairus's request on several occasions has been, we have got to make the submission process easier. I don't know if you realize this, but our submission process got so cumbersome and difficult and discouraging that we were canceling sessions because there were no submissions. So Brother Jairus' mandate to us was we need to make the submission process simpler. We're actually doing 5 things to try and do that. The first one you've already been introduced to. That was organize committees in the areas to get help to the people in the areas and let them work together as communities. Okay, so that was our first step. Our second step is to find the best software out there to use to import your lines from Family Search. We needed 7 things in the software: the ability to import the lines and interface well with Family Search, the ability to control the ordinance data fields. That's the whole reason we gotta have our own software. Number 3, the ability to sort reports and lists by ordinance dates. That becomes critical when you're trying to seal a family together. You need to be able to know who's missing what, and you don't want to have to be looking up every single person one at a time, which we've had to do in the past. Number 4, we needed the ability to export the information from my desktop. Now that I have my stuff, now I need to get it to the AUB, right? So now I need to be able to export a GEDCOM that our program can read. So it needed to be able to export information as a GEDCOM file for our ancestral work program. And then, this is for me, it's got to be user-friendly and easy to use. I don't want to spend a lot of time learning a program. I want it simple and easy. We found the simplest and easiest one we can find out there. And then it has to be compatible for Mac and Windows users. We don't want to have a problem with that when we submit. And it needs to be affordable. That's a tall order. Ancestral Quest to the rescue. I realize that some of you probably have genealogy software like Roots Magic or Family Tree Maker or whatever, or even PATH 5.2, which was the last release of PATH. You want to switch to Ancestral Quest. This is, for a lot of reasons, the best one for us to use for our purposes. Because of that, we talked with the people at the Ancestral Quest booth, and they extended their discount. Roots Tech Conference, this is a one-time purchase, not a subscription. You're buying what you need to interface with our program. Yes, Marianne?
I have owned this ever since it came out, and I just updates every 3 or 4 years.
So they don't update every few months, they update every 3 or 4 years. The option is yours if you want to update. Family Search is doing some huge things right now, and they're about to take a quantum leap past the normal genealogy programs, and there's a few vendors signed on to keep up with them. They would not announce who they were, but when we asked Ancestral Quest, they said we're all over it. We're going to be right in sync with them when they move to the next level. Ancestral Quest has been around. All you have to do is type Ancestral Quest tutorial videos in your Google search, and you're going to get a whole page of how to use Ancestral Quest. So that's why I say we're not going to help you do stuff tonight, because there's tools out there for us to be able to do stuff. I want to give you the big picture of where you need to go. Ancestral Quest is the cheapest, the most affordable, and best use program for what we need. Yes, Marianne?
One purchase can go for at least 3 computers.
Oh, yes, thank you. The way they set it up was that you only buy it one for your household, and you can load it on all your computers in your household. When you buy Ancestral Quest, they are going to send a registration code to the email address that you type in. And then when you download it into the computer, they're going to ask you these 4 options, and I'm making it easy for you because you probably don't know what the 4 options are. Yes, you do want to capitalize surnames. It doesn't capitalize them everywhere. It capitalizes them on the nice fancy reports, which is really nice. Of course, you want to enable your LDS data if you're trying to find out which ordinances are acceptable and which ones aren't. If there are conditions where you might not want to do that, it's your option. Check the box. Marianne and I just say check the top one and the bottom one. You do not want to verify newly entered names. That will drive you crazy in short order. And then on your double click to edit rather than to navigate, we do not like that feature. So it's just our preference. Check the top one, check the bottom one. This is going to be, when you install it, this is going to be the way it shows up on your computer. And I just wanted you to see that the names are blank. Can you read at that top there, the blue says Family Search? Click on Family Search up there at the top, and then don't try and write all this down for 2 reasons. Number 1, it's being recorded. Number 2, all of this is going to be in handouts on the site. Take a breath. It's for you to get the overview of where we're going. Brother Jared Foster and Brother Jared Brunson are all over being ready to help everybody get this done. I'm just kind of showing you how it works. You click on Family Search, and then where I have it circled in red, do you see it says Import Family Lines? So you're going to put the person that you want this line for. Now, if it was me, it would be easy. It would just be Rhonda, because, you know, my lines download in an hour. If it was Farrell, I would have to start doing a different one for each of Ria's grandparents, okay? So that I keep my database and in a manageable thing. So again, it depends on big data lines or small data lines. And believe it or not, Marianne and I have downloaded 100 generations. We've timed it. We've kept logs. We can tell you how long it's going to take. We've downloaded 10 generations, and we've kind of been playing with all this so that we can suggest to you where we think you should probably start. And you can adjust that according to your situation. And so, again, that's getting into all the hairy details. that we're not going to do right now, but I want you to see that this is so doable. All you have to do is make a few decisions, who you want to start your line with, how many generations you want to download, and bam, bam, you're on your way. All that information will import into your ancestral quest. And I really am sorry that our program is Ancestral Work and this program is Ancestral Quest, because that gets really confusing. But they are two different things, and you are going to have to get them straight. Ancestral Quest is what you're going to buy to put on your laptop. Ancestral Work is where you're going to submit to do temple work. Let's jump out right here and look at this. This is just my lines after I have loaded them in. And one of my favorite things to do is I like to come up here to the tools, and you see that color coding. All you have to do is click color coding yes, and it makes them all in color according to, your grandparents' line. You can choose. You make your own colors. One of the most powerful things about Ancestral Quest is it is the most flexible. You can control it. You can do it the way you want. One thing I wanted to show you right here is I'm gonna right click on Edward Henry Andrews. There is my Edward H. Andrews. Now, some of you might panic on those dates. We're gonna talk about this in just a minute. When I came into the work, I have a special situation. When we came into the church, we didn't even join the Mormon church until the 1976. And this work that was done in the Salt Lake Temple, we did. My family did. And the Spirit of God was there. And I knew that the work was acceptable. And so we're going to talk about that in just a minute, the different situations that we might have. Then I'm going to show you this one. This one is my relative, Justine. She was one of the first families we did. You're going to see in just a second, I'll show you. I'm going to go now to her family page. You can see this is fairly simple. It'll take you a minute to get a hold of it, but it's not too bad. You can see if you went through and looked at these dates here, one of these children is 8, one of them is 6, one of them is 4, one of them is 2, and they lost all of those children in 6 months in a yellow fever epidemic in New Orleans. It was so traumatic for my family that the husband and the wife could not speak of it for the rest of their lives. You can see August and Rose. That's Rose is my great-great-grandmother. They lived to be like 190 years old. They did super long lives, but all of the younger siblings died. And so this was one of the first families that I wanted to seal together. So I just wanted to show you, if I just pick Louisa and I say, look at the individual, you can see that she's a child, and you can see she was sealed to her parents in 1993. Okay? Now, what I'm trying to show you is that some of the ordinances that we did in the church when we very first joined in 1976 and 1977, in 1993 were accepted by the leaders, by Brother Lynn, and by those that were in charge of the temple work. And then the policy kind of changed. And it's important that you know the history, because what I'm trying to emphasize to you is that everybody has a different situation. And you need to have the Spirit of God when you do the work. I'm about to show you this list, but this is the list, and you can see the work that was done in 1977 right there. I want you to take a note of the one that's highlighted. April 23rd, 1977. Do you guys see that one? Okay. This is a quote from Brother Rulin. We work in the archives, and I felt very blessed when one of the workers discovered this quote. In the council meeting minutes, I want you to look at the date. It's the exact same date that we did that temple work on. This is Brother Rulin in a council meeting. He said, April 23rd, 1977, Rulin gave testimony that the work being done in temples is acceptable to the Lord, and we are not now to set things in order. I'm not trying to be controversial here. I'm trying to give you the background for what the policy is now. You know, if you redo somebody's ordinances, then you got to redo this one, this one, this one, this one, and you can end up cutting up the branch that you're sitting on. You need to pray about your lines. Sister Melanie Baker, I've spoken with her personally, and she told me, the ancestors that I'm doing my work for, they've been in fundamentalism and risked everything for generations, and I don't think they want a 57-minute endowment. And I totally respect that. My ancestors probably never heard of Mormons. It's different. Everybody's different. You must get the Spirit of God as you work on your lines. This was approved by Brother Jairus and by Brother Dave. Ordinances done between 1921 and 1978 may or may not be valid, but it is not up to us as temple workers to make that decision. The weighty responsibility of determining what work needs to be done or redone lies with each patron. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up too is because if you go to my lines, and this is the Farnsworth lines, this is Rhea's lines, and if I hit pedigree, she would be at the beginning of the chart, but I don't want to do that because I've already got this all sorted. 3 tabs over is what's called the name list, and this is one of the most powerful tools that you have in Ancestral Quest. What you have here is you can add any field you want in this, like a spreadsheet of your genealogy. I could add a field for New Orleans and have it sort the entire database for me, all of my relatives from New Orleans, if I was working in New Orleans and I wanted to know all the names to look up. You can adjust this. I added here that I wanted the baptism date and I wanted the endowment date to the Farnsworth, this one that's got like 12 binders just to load the family group sheets for 13 generations. If I click on this endowment date right here, it sorts by endowment date. Why is this helpful to me? Well, check it out. I've got my work starting in the 1800s right there, and I can now come down. I can see, now I'm in the 1920s, 1930s. This might be sketch, but you know, if I had the blanket idea in my head that I had to redo all the work past 1920, I don't even know if you understand how many thousands of names there are of people that have had their work done after the 1920s. Okay, so I'm just telling you that's not going to work for you if you've got a big database to just make that your only criteria. You're going to have the Spirit of the Lord, and you're going to have to decide who to work on first. But I just also wanted you to see that this is a really handy tool to have in your database, that it can sort by date. This is one of the reasons that we chose Ancestral Quest. Right here, families starting from scratch. This is a how-to list. This will be posted. We have step-by-step how-tos on so many of the processes that you're going to be going through. This is even when you download your GEDCOMs. If you're not careful, then your GEDCOM file starts to get mixed up with your file the one that you imported from Family Search is different from the file that you're exporting over to Ancestral Work. And if you don't label those files just so, you're going to get yourself confused. And so here's Mary Ann. She's been doing genealogy for decades. This is how you should name your files so that you keep them all straight and don't get them mixed up. And then we just went over the ordinances in the list. I'm going to escape out of this and let us now move on to, this is showing you that if you're like me and you've done research from the ground up and you've never had anybody to copy a family group record from, you can see this is my mom's lines. Those are documents that I photocopied off a microfilm in the library back in the old days, but I wanted you to see that this is all of the family group sheets and all of the pedigree charts, plus the indexes and some descendancy charts on my mom's line. So for me, this is not a big deal. I'll just print the whole binder, you know? But if you've got a large database, you're not going to want to print 13 binders just to get Farrell's mom's line printed. This is just an organizing system and how to organize all those documents so that they all sort by family and everything. It's so cool. We'll explain it to you. This is how to print pedigree charts. I'm just showing you that we've already kind of tried to swim through all of this for you. And we have some really good tips and suggestions for you. So families with huge databases. First, you'll need to decide how many generations you plan to download from Family Search, and you may want to use fan charts. Craig Foster is our Family Search expert. He has worked for Family Search for 30 plus years. He is our dear friend. He comes in and volunteers at the archives once a week and is no end of blessing to us on helping us how we should organize our archives, how we should get genealogy set up and going. And he's going to show you really cool things about Family Search towards the end. But what I wanted you to see is this is a Family Search pedigree chart. I'm going to go up here and can you see on there where my mouse is? Can you see? It's on landscape view right now. Watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to click that and I'm going to go to fan chart view. If I go to fan chart view, it's going to show me my lines as a fan chart. I'm going to zoom out and let you see. Now, this particular one, I told it to show my fan chart to me by the place everybody was born. Because maybe I want to work on all my British lines. And so I got to work on them, and them, and them. Here I go. Or I might go online and watch a couple of online classes on how to do British genealogy research. Well, for me, it's going to be German. Yeah, the 90% of that is German. But you can see I'm also from New Orleans. And so check this out. I've got so many different places that my family comes from. France, Denmark, Poland, Ireland, the Virgin Islands. I got people scattered everywhere so much they can't even fit it on the chart. But here we go. That's by birthplace. That's super helpful if you're going to do research by birthplace. This is just by family lines. So this is what it looks like. And then you see this print icon down here? You can print these anytime. And you have to realize that it's all lifetime. So if somebody else is adding a name to my line somewhere, it's going to be added next week when I go look at the fan chart. This is how it would print if I printed my family lines. But what I want to show you, this is so cool. If I printed my birthplaces, this is how it would look if I printed it. It would give me the key code. Now also, if you don't have a color printer, no fear, all of these colors are heat sensitive, which means if you print them in black and white, you can still see by shade which one is which. It's just prettier in color. Now I'm going to look at this chart by something that's so helpful if you're just looking at your big lines and where to start. This is sources. The darker the yellow, the more sources they have documenting that name. So the dark yellow ones have 10 or more documents on that person. You probably don't need to start there. You want to go out to your lighter colors. That shows you where the research is still kind of shaky, where you need to work there. Check this one out. I can actually click stories. Now, yeah, this is my line, so sorry. Farrell's line would have lots of cool stories, and it would highlight all the people that actually have an autobiography or something written about them, and it's attached to them in Family Search, and you could read it. This is photos, people that we have photos of that person. Some people actually like to go through their line and just get photos of the guys that don't have photos. You know, that's their thing. There's so many ways you can work on it, and so much you can do. Abraham, you had your hand up.
Just trying to get all these programs straight in my head. You keep going this one.
Okay, thank you. This is Family Search. And all I'm doing is showing you the powerful thing that Family Search is. Yes, Family Search is owned by the church. This is their incredible program that everybody is going to have to learn to use. Website. It is a website, not a program. Remember that you can't get Family Search to talk to you. You can't download anything physical from Family Search unless you have a program like Ancestral Quest. Then you can pull it down. That's why you need Ancestral Quest, is to pull it down. And then once you've pulled it down, you can say, family, we're going to submit this family for the next temple session for AB. In Ancestral Quest, they'll let you make a GEDCOM of just that family and submit it into Ancestral Quest. Ancestral work. I'm sorry, I'm going to confuse you. Okay, so this is just the amazing stuff. So right here, if you see Farrell right there, I click on the little fan, and then all of a sudden I'm now seeing Farrell's chart. You see him in the center now? I just told it to make this chart start from Farrell, and I'm going to tell it just to give me his lines. That little slidey bar type icon, that means options. And so when I click that, I get options. I'm just going to show me Farrell's family lines, okay? And I told you Ria's genealogy is crazy. So I'm clicking on Ria's fan chart, and I'm just proving to you what I said is true. Check this out. There are no holes in the first 7 generations. 0. Okay, and if I click on them there. So what would I do if I was working on Farrell's mom's lines? Well, I would click on the fan chart of one of these outer edge people, and then it would start a fan chart on them and show me their 7 generations. Those ones are only going back to generation like 9 or 10 right there. Okay, so I could get working on that. And then I could say, oh, show me, let's look at the options. Let me see how many sources do they have. Ooh, look at that. Only one of them's well documented. I could get working in there. This way, now, just for fun, just because I knew somebody would want to know. These are Farrell's mom's fan charts. I just showed you the first fan chart is all filled out. It's the same one that I showed you just a minute ago. So let me back up and I'll put it on the big screen. It's easier to back up than to try and reload it. Okay, so this is Rhea, and I'm turning the options off of sources, and I'm going to put it on to her family lines. So you can see that's this chart, okay? So now what I did is I went and I took and I put the numbers, the pedigree numbers by each of these outside edge people. And then I printed each one of their chart and the geography behind it. How many of you guys have seen the 13 generation wall charts that take your whole wall and it takes you a week to fill them out? That is a 13 generation chart on Farrell's mom's line. By birthplace, where I can go and learn to research. So if you're into printing and you do want to print, remember once you print it, it's outdated tomorrow. But if you do want to print it, that's 65 pages to do a 13 generation chart. You can print that out on regular size paper on a regular printer in 2 hours. Okay? Yes?
13 generations would be 4,096 ancestors.
Yes. It's plenty enough to get you started, right? Yeah. So get rid of this idea that you have to get all of it before you can start, because that's an old idea. A lot of us think, oh, my genealogy's been done. I've had ancestors working on it for generations. There's a lot of negative out there about AI, but AI has the ability to read documents and transcribe them so that they're searchable. When we went to Roots Tech, we were told that in 1 year since AI, they have increased their database of research information a third again what it was before. There are more records available today than your ancestors ever had access to.